Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and if this is your first time here, my name is Grace and I share sewing tutorials on this channel. In this tutorial, we're going to be learning how to cut and sew this long free turtleneck dress with a pleated material at the side. So if this is something that interests you, make sure that you watch this video to the end, and don't also forget to like, comment and share. Now let's get into the video and start learning. So these are the materials I'm going to be making use of to make this dress, and I have two trouser lengths of crepe material, which is the black material, and this pink material is called a sunray fabric, and I have about 1.5 yards of it. And I also have my tape rule, my scissors, my pattern paper and my ruler. So I'm going to be drafting the pattern first, and I will start with the upper bodice. Now I'm going to be doing a cut together turtleneck. So for this reason, I measured about 4 inches away from the beginning of the pattern paper, and I will draw a straight line across. Now this line will be my shoulder line, and I just label this like that. Then I will take the remaining vertical measurements from that line. So the chest line of the person I'm working with is 7 inches, so I marked that and drew a straight line across. To get your chest line, you just have to divide your bust circumference by 6 and add 1.5 or 2 inches to that. Now the next line I will be marking is the bust point at 9.5 inches, and I will draw a straight line across. To get your bust point, just measure from your shoulder to your nipple. Now the next line I will be taking on this upper bodice is the waistline, and the waistline that I'm working with is at 16 inches. So to get the waistline is just to measure from your shoulder down to the part of the waist when you want the half length of the dress to stop. So now I just went ahead to label my lines. The next thing is that on the shoulder line, I'm going to be dividing my shoulder measurements by 2, and I will place that. So mine is 16 inches, and that divided by 2 will give me 8 inches. And I also place that 8 inches on the chest line horizontally. Then I'm going to mark a straight line across. Then I will come down from that new line by 1 inch in order to create my shoulder slope, and I'll measure how wide I want the neck to be. So I'm using 2.5 inches neck width because this is a turtleneck and I don't want it to be too wide. So I connected that shoulder slant to the neck width. Then on the chest line, I'm going to measure my bust circumference divided by 4. I'm going to place that, then look for the midpoint that I have on this straight line from the slant, mark it and go in by 1/2 inch like this. Then I'm going to use my curved ruler in order to create an armhole curve, and you can also use your free hand to do this as well if you don't have a curved ruler. So please don't mind that little mistake that I did over there, so just ignore it. Then the next thing is to place the nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 on the bust point and also on the waistline. So the one I'm working with is 3.5 inches, and I placed it on both the bust point and the waistline. Then I used a straight line to join those points together. Now on the waistline, I'm going to be coming out of that straight line by 1/2 inch on both sides like this, and I'll come down from the bust point by 1/2 inch as well. Then I'll connect my darts to meet the bust point from the waistline like this. So I've created the darts for this dress. Now I'm going to be placing my waist measurement divided by 4 on my waistline. I'll measure what I have in between the darts and replace it. Then I will connect from the chest line down to the waistline to get my side measurement. So but that's been done, I'm going to be cutting out these parts of the pattern, the down part of the pattern, which we are not going to be needing. Then before I cut out the remaining part, I'll work on the turtleneck area. So I already have my neck width. The only thing now is to measure how long I want the turtleneck to be. So I want it to be like 1.5 inches, so I'm just making it 2 inches because I'm still going to fold it. Then I connected that to the 2 inches, and on this side as well, I'm going to measure that 2 inches, then connect it together like this, as you can see. Now on this center front part of the turtleneck, I'm going to be coming down by 1/4 inch, just tiny like this. Then I will use my cuff to connect it to the other side like this, just to make sure that it's not straight, because our neck is not straight, of course. Then on this side as well, I'm going to come in by that 1/4 inch as well. Then I'm just going to blend it into my shoulder area, so that that place will not just be straight, because our body is not that straight in that area. I hope you understand. So those new lines are what I'm going to cut. So just watch me as I'm going to cut this out. So this is what we have after I'm done cutting. Can you see the turtleneck? Then I'm just going to go ahead and notch that area so that I can notch it too as well on the fabric when I'm done cutting. So I folded my fabric into two like this in order to cut the front. Then I pinned the pattern paper, making sure that the center front part is on fold. Then I'm adding 1.5 inch sewing allowance to the side like this. I will go ahead and cut this out now. I added half an inch to the down part for joining, and also to this part on the shoulder and the neck area I added half an inch, and also notched the dart area. So this is what the front looks like. Also for the back, I already placed my pattern and pinned it down. Then I added 2 inches for zipper at the middle, and also 1.5 inch for sewing allowance at the side like this. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut this out as well. So the only major difference between the front and the back is this zipper allowance. So on the waistline, I'm going to come in by half of an inch and just connect that up like this and cut it out in order to eliminate zipper bulge on this dress. So in order to draft the down part of this dress, which is like the A-shaped flared area, I'm going to be using a fresh pattern and paper. I'll place my tape from where the waist stopped at the half length, which is 16 inches. Then from there, I'll measure my hip line, which the hip line of this person is at 23 inches. So the first line here is the waist and this is the hip. I'm just using my marker to make that bold enough. So on this waistline, I'll come in by half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 3.5, and I will do the same thing on the hip line, then connect it together. And then I'm going to mark half an inch away on both sides on the waistline, come down by about 4 inches and connect my darts together for the skirt part. So after doing this, I'm going to place my waist measurement divided by 4 on the waistline, add the dart allowance to it, and also measure my hip divided by 4 and place it on the hip line, then connect the waist and the hip together. Now on the down part of this pattern, I'm going to be measuring my hip measurement, and I will also add 3 or 4 inches extra in order to make that place freer, so that it's going to give that A-shape vibe. Then I'll connect from the hip to meet that place at the hem. Now I'm just going to cut this pattern out. Now that I've cut it out, this is not the end. We are going to be drawing down this line from the darts all the way down. Just draw it straight all the way down. Then I'm going to be slashing it open, and when I slash it open, I'm going to be cutting out the dart away totally. Then I'm going to be using my sellotape in order to tape it together like this. So when I tape it together like this, I have this little opening, and I will now bring another pattern paper. So I have this brown pattern paper that is very big. I also added an extra one so that it will accommodate what I want to do. Then I'll place this skirt pattern like this on this new pattern paper, making sure that that opening is widely open. I hope you understand that. So this is just like a slash and spread method in order to have that fullness on the skirt area. So once I'm done pinning it together, I'm going to cut it out. And when I'm cutting this side, I will just make sure that I had 1 inch allowance, so that will just serve as the sewing allowance for this skirt part. So I'm just taking off my pins and I'm going to open this up. Now we have that full skirt part, and we can now work on this now to get the side, which is going to be the part that will carry that sunray material. So to do that, the first thing that I'm going to be doing is to measure from the waist down to the hip again. I'm just going to mark the hip line on the skirt, which is 23 inches. Remember that the waist stops at 16 inches. So from the waistline, I will come down by 2 inches. You can do 1 or 1.5 if you want. Then from the hip line, I will go in by about 5 inches. Then from the hem at the middle part, I will come in by 3 inches as well. So I'm going to be using my curved rule like this in order to curve this together from the waist to the place that I marked at the hip. Then I will draw it slantly to go and meet that place at the hem. So can you see that we have that shape now? So that part is going to be what we carry this sunray fabric. I hope you understand. Then I'll just go ahead now and cut out this part of the pattern paper. So now that I'm done cutting this out, I will now cut on the fabric. So the first thing that I will do is to cut these parts. So this is the front that I'm cutting first. So I'll mark this and I'll make sure that I have my full length on the fabric, because the pattern paper was not that long in order to accommodate the full length. So I'm adding extra 7 inches to this pattern paper. So if your pattern paper is not as long as your full length as well, just add the remaining inches that you are going to need. So after adding it like this, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. So this is just me marking, making sure that the length is complete, as you can see. Then I will use my scissors in order to just cut this out all the way. So there's no need to add any sewing allowance at the side again, because we already added it while cutting out this brown pattern. I hope you understand. So on that side that needs joining, I'm just going to be adding a little of about half an inch to it, that curves parts. Can you see? Then I'm also going to cut out the waist area. So just basically cutting out the skirts. And I'm just going to notch this hip part area in order to guide us when we are joining the sunray fabric later. So I'm taking off the pins, and after taking it off, I'm going to go ahead and work on the back. So to work on the back, I'm going to be slashing this pattern into 2 from the middle. So remember that the back needs to have zip, so that's why we have to slash this open like this, and I will cut it separately. So I'll cut one side first, and I'll go ahead and add my allowance. No, this is not allowance. I'll go ahead and add the ones that will make my full length complete, that's 7 inches. Then I'll go ahead and add the zipper allowance in the middle, which is 2 inches. So I'll add 2 inches all the way straight down for the zipper allowance, and after marking that, I'll go ahead and cut this out. So don't forget to add to your full length if the pattern paper is not up to your full length. It is very important to remember that. So after cutting this part out, I'll work on the second part as well, which is this part. So I'm also going to add to the full length and then add to this zip area like this. I'm adding 2 inches allowance to the zipper area like this as well. So I'm going to join that together, then cut this out. So to the parts that will need joining here as well, I'm adding half an inch allowance. The parts that we're going to be joining to the other fabric, that curved part. So this is what I have. So I notched the place where the zip allowance will start, and also that hip point where the curve ended. So to cut the sunray fabric as well, I'm going to be placing my pattern like this, making sure that the middle part is on the folded edge of the fabric. Then I will pin it all the way around. I will also go ahead and mark my extra 7 inches to make to complement for the length of the gown after the pattern. Then I will cut this out as well, making sure that I had half an inch allowance to this part that will need joining also, and notching this area that is at the hip line as well. So let's go ahead to start joining our pieces together. Now this is the front part of the upper bodice, and I'm just going to be folding the neck area of the turtleneck into 2 like this. I'm going to be folding about 0.5 of an inch. So I'll be using this hemming gum. I'm going to be splitting it into 2 so that it will complement what I want to fold. So this is just to make sure that place has neat finishing. I'll place it on it like this and fold like half an inch over. Then I'll use my hot iron to press it down and make sure it stays there. So this is going to join that place together without us having any feasible sewing on it, so that that place is going to be neat. So I used my iron to press it down, and once it stays, it's good. So make sure that the iron is hot very well and it stays very well. Then I'm going to also do this same thing to the back parts of this dress as well. So to the back pieces as well, I'm going to do the same thing. I'll bring the hemming gum, place it on it like this. I'll also do the same thing for the other side. So I'm just going to fold it over with half an inch and use my iron in order to press it down very well and make sure that it stays. So can you see that it gives this neat and very flat finishing? So I'm going to be doing that to the other side of the back as well. And once I was done, this is what I have. The next thing is to hold the darts. So remember, we notch the dart areas. That's to make sure that we recognize it on time. Then I'll measure where I want the darts to stop and mark that as well. Then I'm going to connect it together like this and go to my sewing machine and sew down my darts. I will do the same thing on the back pieces as well. So after sewing the darts, this is what I have, as you can see. Then it's time to join the down part. So I'm going to take the front part of the skirt part like this and join it right sides facing each other to the upper parts. I hope you understand. So I'm just pinning that together. So in order to make sure that I'm on the right track, I'm just going to notch the midpoint of both the skirts and the top. So I'm going to place the midpoints together first, then I'll pin other sides together as well. Then I'll go to the sewing machine and give it a stitch of half an inch. After doing that, I'm going to do the same thing to the back as well. I'm going to be placing them right sides facing each other, the skirt part of the back. So you have to be careful when you are doing this so that you will not give the wrong parts to each other. I've already ironed down the zip allowance area with hemming gum too, in order to secure that place. So that is what is guiding me. So just give each side the right one. So I'll also go ahead and sew with half an inch allowance. When I was done, this is what I have. So I'm going to be placing my zip now. I'm just going to be placing the back right sides facing each other like this. Measure where I want the zip to end and mark that place. Then I will go in with about 1 inch and sew it all the way down. Then introduce the zip. Once I was done fixing the zip, this is what I have. As you can see, I made use of an invisible zipper. Then I'm going to place both the front and the back right sides facing each other. So if you get to this level and you're on the right track, you will notice that the side that has the curved cut are on the same side. If they are not, then you have done something wrong. So the first thing I will do now is to join on this shoulder area, the neck to the shoulder area, with half an inch. And after that, I'm going to join the sides with my customer sides measurements as well. So when I was done joining, this is what I have. As you can see, we are already almost close to the end of this. I'm going to now introduce this sunray fabric now. I'll place it like this, and the first thing I will do is to put it together and notch the midpoints of this fabric at the top. Then I'm going to be placing that midpoint with the midpoint of the side I want to sew this fabric to, and also those notches at the hip area must match each other on both the sunray fabric and on the crepe material. I hope you understand. Then I will now go ahead and pin down the other areas, the other straight areas like this. So I'm just pinning on the both sides, as you can see. And after doing that, you have something like this. I'll go ahead now and sew with 1/2 inch stitching allowance all the way around my pinnings. So after I was done sewing, this is what I have. So can you see how beautiful this has turned out? The next thing, which is like the last thing, is to introduce the sleeves. So I've already cut out a long sleeve for this. It's just a basic long sleeve, and I'll go ahead and join it together with the dress. So if you don't know how to sew a long sleeve or cut a long sleeve, I have a tutorial here on my channel. I'll be linking it to this video so that you can watch it as well if you don't know how to cut out a long sleeve. But this is just a basic long sleeve, and I added that to both sides of the armhole. So this is the final look of the dress when I was done. I forgot to film how I fixed that fur area at the sleeve, but basically what I did was just to buy the fur in the market, I think for about 2,000 naira per yard. Then I used my adhesive gum to join it together to the tip of the sleeve, and I also used needle and thread in order to secure it and make sure it doesn't remove. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you do, kindly subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't, and also don't forget to like, share, and drop a comment in the comment section. Also turn on your notification bell so that you'll be notified whenever I drop helpful tutorials like this. Till I see you in my next tutorial. Bye.